go.
Hi everyone, how are we doing? This is DJ Sizzle of Cumbiaton, Los Angeles, and I am here with...
Hi everybody, my name is Julio Salgado with Cumbiaton as well.
Yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in. Hola a todos, todas, todexes. We thank you so much once again for tuning in and joining us here at LALIFF Connect. For those of you who are unfamiliar with LALIFF, aka the Los Angeles Latino International Film Festival, they are a festival powered by the Latino Film Institute and dedicated to celebrating Latinx experiences through art, film, TV, music, and the digital space. We are combining efforts to share our knowledge on nightlife curation with Cumbiaton Los Angeles and bring it to you via this platform. We are super excited and just incredibly honored to be here today to share about, you know, our tiny but really mighty, you know, small production company that has taken this, you know, and I just don't want to say Los Angeles because we're based, you know, nationally now, has taken the nation by storm with a lot of ritmo, with a lot of cumbia, with a lot of just flavor, right? So again, it's myself, DJ Sizzle Fantastic, and Julio, who are gonna be conducting this master workshop class with you all, just to find out how, you know, we got to be from all the way from our humble beginnings to where we are at now and all of our accomplishments. So without further ado, we're gonna get started. I'm gonna go first, and then Julio, you know, feel free to jump in as, you know, we go along. But then Julio's also gonna be able to have his part in our workshop. So yeah, without further ado, I'm gonna do this in presentation style so you know who we are outside of quarantine, because I know, you know, things have shifted for us as Cumbiaton. You know, we started in the summer of 2017. We're going on 3 years strong, right? And it's taken a lot of hard work and a lot of labor, a lot of dedication to be where we are at today. So I'm gonna get started with our presentation. I'm gonna share the screen with you all so you know what we are talking about, instead of just being like, oh, who are these people, right? Again, we are Cumbiaton, and this is a master class on nightlife curation in the Latinx world. So again, I just wanted to show you who we are outside of the quarantine space, because our realities have shifted. But prior to that, prior to March, we were this amazing public and just badass party.
Te necesito junto a mí, no abandones mi amor, me he entregado a ti, no puedo sobrevivir, necesito tu calor, ahora más que nunca, te necesito junto a mí, no abandones mi amor, me he entregado a ti, no puedo sobrevivir, necesito tu calor. I'm gonna rock to the beat till it hurt.
So cute. Oh my goodness. That was at our 2-year anniversary party at the Globe Theater, at the historic Globe Theater in downtown LA. During the summertime. I'm like, y'all remember when COVID-19 wasn't a thing? Y'all remember physical contact? Y'all remember hugging? Y'all remember squeezing through the dance floors and just perreando on each other, right? Or perreando sola, because, you know, we're allowed to do that too. So that is who we are outside of quarantine, outside of, you know, our little confined safekeeping. We are Cumbiaton Los Angeles, and we are an intergenerational cultural movement which utilizes music and art as a vessel to heal and uplift oppressed communities. We were founded, as I mentioned, in the summer of 2017 in the beautiful barrio of Boyle Heights, and since have branched out to cities like San Francisco, Seattle, New York, and our vision in all 4 cities has been to center women, trans, and queer people of color, both on the dance floor and in the DJ booth. We center our collective experiences to create events by us, for us, and we do this because La Cumbia es Cultura. Right. And I am just so incredibly proud of our team, right, which right now is composed of 5 core members, or like 5 members that, you know, have taken the Cumbiaton team, you know, on a nationwide level. So I'm going to share a bit more about what it has taken for us to get to a national level. Because it hasn't been just a single person, right? You might see my face a lot on, you know, whether it's the pictures or DJing or just hyping, you know, us up. I had the privilege of doing a set with LALIFF earlier this, was it this month or last month? I don't even know what day we're living in anymore. Oh my goodness. But you know, I had the privilege of doing a live set, you know, on behalf of Cumbiaton with my mom, Coco Loco. If you know her, you know, she's amazing. And she has become my go-go dancer, right? And my hype woman and just my overall go-to person, because now I don't have my team, right, of 5 folks that I can turn to, right? So I'm going to get into it with our team of folks, which is our production manager / co-founder, Normz Oaxaqueña. And she was, you know, she's a founding member of Cumbiaton. And, you know, she's the one who actually deals with artist relations. She deals with, you know, just making sure that the show is running smoothly overall. And I can't like take my hat off to her enough because she's super, super amazing. Like, she, you know, continues to make sure that our sound checks run smooth, that, you know, the artists have everything that they need beforehand. And we make it a priority to communicate this to them, you know, like weeks in advance. So the artists come in as easy and as, you know, relaxed as they possibly can, because I know, you know, all of us, myself being a DJ, Julio being an artist, you know, a graphic designer, Funky being a DJ, Paolo being a photographer, right? Like, it makes it so much easier when we just have to show up and, you know, like do our job, right? So that's Norm's job overall, just making sure that our production goes as smooth as possible, and obviously maintaining those artist relationship on 100, which she knows how to do effortlessly. Then we have DJ Funky Caramelo, who is obviously our resident DJ and our marketing lead and our press lead, right? A lot of folks don't know that, you know, the graphics that we create at Cumbiaton on our social media are done by 2 people, right? Julio Salgado, who you see on the screen, and also DJ Funky Caramelo, right? But not only is she a DJ, she's an all-around badass as well. She handles a lot of our press, right? A lot of the write-ups that you see, whether it's on, you know, Remezcla, on LA Magazine, on, you know, just different avenues. It's because of DJ Funky Caramelo. She's just a badass when it comes to outreach, you know, and making sure that our collective is highlighted adequately, right? So she does a lot of that. And then we also have our photographer / visual storyteller, who is Paolo Riveros. And what he does, obviously, he documents a lot of our parties, right? Because you need a documentarian. How else are people gonna know that the parties are lit? How else, you know, are they gonna know that, you know, like this epic event happened if you don't post it online, if you don't post it on the Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, then did it even happen? Right? So this is what we, you know, we rely a lot on Paolo to do, right? And these are the images that, you know, we tend to share out with different people for our, whether it's our articles, whether it's our social media, or whether it's our presentations, right? A lot of these are used, you know, are by our resident photographer, Paolo. Then we have our graphic illustrator, who's on the call right now, Julio Salgado. and he's just a badass all around. I could hype you up, Julio, and tell you all of this, but I'm gonna let you do that yourself. I just want y'all to know that, you know, like having him on the team has just definitely taken us to the next level, because not only is Julio a graphic illustrator, right? He's also just an overall hype person, right? You can find him on the dance floor, you can find him twerking on stage, you can find him, you know, being our backup dancer, you can find him running around and just doing anything and everything to help our team out, right? So thankfully we have a team of all around badasses, right? And then you have myself, who, you know, as I mentioned before, I am a DJ. I'm also the director of this production company, as well as the co-founder of Cumbiaton. And, you know, all of these folks that you see right here, what makes it so special is that not only are we artists, not only are we organizers within our own respective space, you know, we are all of that, but it just so happens that, you know, we are also undocumented, right? So we do a lot of these events that are for us, by us, and we center our experiences as immigrants, as women, as trans folks, as queer folks, right? And we center those experiences because they are ours to share, and nobody can tell our stories better than we can tell our stories, and nobody can share the experiences better than we can share our experience, because that is, you know, those are our lived experiences. So there you have it in a nutshell. That is my wonderful team of people, and that is 100% how I feel each and every time I look at them. I'm just incredibly proud, and I, you know, I could write novels on each and every one of them because they're just so amazing, right? Again, we started with 5 folks, then we started branching off, right? We started growing, and we started seeing that we couldn't necessarily do it all on our own. So we had to hire extra folks, right? We had to hire stage managers. We had to hire production assistants, right? We had to hire door managers. There was a moment in time where we tried to do it all, right? But, you know, with every learning lesson and every bump in the road, we figured it out that, you know, we couldn't do all of this stuff by ourselves. So we had to be able to, you know, bring on different folks. And we do have stage managers who make sure that the artists are on time. Oh my goodness, I cannot tell you, and I cannot stress enough how important it is to have a stage manager. My stage managers have even told me sometimes, hey, Sizzle, you have 1 minute to play. And I'm like, wait, one more song. No, you have 1 minute to play, right? And I'm the director, and they tell me, and I have to listen to them, right? Because I know that that's going to keep moving our show smoothly, right? So we have our stage managers, production assistants who help out with, you know, anything regarding like hospitality, right, for the artists, anything regarding, you know, even helping out the production manager, who's Normz, helping us out, keeping us and keeping our show running as smooth as it can possibly go. And our door managers, who are our greeters, right, who make sure that the people that are coming in, right, they're greeted with a smile. They're greeted, you know, from the point of entrance, they're greeted with, you know, just the ambiance that we're trying to provide. So that is our extended team. So in total, we're a team of 10 people. 10 people it takes to pull off the amazing shows that you see at Cumbiaton, which now, you know, we're filling up locations up to 1,500 people at each location that we are going to, right? Obviously, depending on the venues, right? Some are bigger, some are smaller, but these are the, you know, the venues that we're filling up now. And we have here in Los Angeles, you know, we have filled up the Echoplex, the Regent, the Globe, and you know, just different venues that holds capacity and that, like, you know, are historic to LA. So I am very proud of our team for being able to do all of that, because it takes so much work to be able to deal with, you know, 1,000+ people at each event. But it wasn't always that way, right? Like our first event, we pulled in what, like maybe 30 to 40 people, right? And this was word of mouth, right? And most of those folks that you see there were our friends. We were like, hey, we're having a party, come through, right? And our first location, it was max capacity was like maybe 200, if that. And I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't always, you know, packed, right? As you can see here, our very first party was not even, you know, not even a third of what that space held, right? And it was a lot of work, right, to be able to be where we're at today. But it was a lot of the word of mouth that got us to be where we're at. It was a lot of our community just sharing the knowledge and sharing about, sharing with each other about this space, right? This space where you could find artists that would either sing cumbia or would be playing hip hop or would be in, you know, singing mariachi songs or banda, right? And not only could you go and enjoy this, you could go and enjoy this show as your most authentic self, right? And that's what we at Cumbiaton try to create. I'm not gonna sit and say here that it's like you know, the ultimate safe space, because in order for a safe space to exist, right, all of these isms have to be dismantled. But we continue to push that forward all the time, right? There will be no homophobia, there will be no fat phobia, there will be no anti-blackness, right? There will be no any types of isms or you know, misogyny tolerated within our spaces. So we are definitely trying to cultivate a space, again, from our lived experience as immigrants, as women, queer, trans folks, right? That maybe the nightlife space didn't cater to before, right? So that's where we come in and we fill in those gaps with our communities. And I say our communities because we also understand that the folks that come through to our events are not necessarily, you know, they're not just coming in just to come and party, right? We understand that a lot of the folks that come through our doors are activists, are movement people, right? And we have to be able to also give back to our communities the way our communities give back to us, or give to us, period, right? A lot of us do come from organizing spaces. Myself and Normz come from like the labor organizing space, Funky Caramelo, Paolo, Julio, and really all of us came from the undocumented youth movement, right? So those are movements that are still very near and dear to our hearts. And we make sure that we're supporting our communities through and through, one way or another. You know, whether it's at the parties, whether it's online, right? If our community needs our help, we do our very best to be able to give back to our community, because we know that our community has our back, and likewise, we're gonna have our communities back. And I think it's definitely important for anyone pursuing nightlife curation to always keep that in mind. You know, I think unfortunately the nightlife industry has been very toxic a lot of the times, right? And has been really misogynistic, or has been really fat phobic, or has been just, you know, not as welcoming to, you know, a lot of folks. And that's what we're trying to shy away from. We're trying to get away from, because we understand our community's needs, right? So it's really important for anyone who is in this event production planning process to know your community, right? Know your audience, know who those people are, and ways, and you can, different ways in which you can give back. We've been able to increase our following. It says here at 10.1K, but recently we've been able to surpass that. And I believe we're at 13K, if I'm not mistaken, right? And it's been a lot of our continuous work with our communities, right? With our vendors, with our audience, right? And it's about learning how to engage your audience within this respective, you know, time frame, because you can't just throw a party and be like me all the time, right? You also have to learn how to engage your community and how to engage your audience as a whole. Which has really been beneficial to us now that we have hit this like COVID-19 Corona era, right? We've been forced to move a lot of our parties, as you saw before, right? We've been forced to move them online, and we've done, and we've been successful at it because of that, because we've had connections within our community, right? We've had connections, and we've made sure that we build those relationships out with our family. They are not just, you know, party goers that come to be able to, you know, even though if that's what you want to do, that's fine. time, but I think for us, it's really important to foster those relationships so that we'll still have a relationship, even if we're not physically together, right? And as I've mentioned, during this era, we've been able to take our organization and just move it into the digital sphere, which hasn't been which hasn't been easy. It's definitely been a challenge, right? But again, I go back into those relationships with our community that keeps us as successful as we've ever been. So just some brief tips for you all. As a director of an organization now, like a national organization, I would tell you to definitely have a vision, mission, and commit to them, right? It doesn't have to be anything super fancy. It doesn't even have to be written out just yet. But as long as you have that vision of what you want to do, and it's within your heart that you know that it's right, you have to commit to it, and commit to it 100%. Don't commit to it 90%, 80%, 70%. No, it's not going to work that way. You have to commit to it 100%, right? You have to be able to believe in that, to make that vision come to life, right? You have to collaborate and build a team out, right? As I was mentioning, it started off with 2 people. Cumbiaton started off with 2 people, but then realizing that we couldn't do everything that we wanted to do. We couldn't carry out our full vision successfully without adding more people, right? And you have to also learn how to delegate to said people, right? After you build a team of badass individuals, like I am so grateful that I have, our team of 10 people. Those are the team of 10 people that I trust will get the work done, right? None of this like micromanaging stuff. You have to learn how to delegate and make sure that they are, that they can and they will carry out the work forward, which is why you hire them in the first place, right? Because you have that trust and faith that they will continue to do that. You also have to invest in your community, right? And I can't stress that enough. I want to say maybe like 90% of the people we hire are undocumented, right? Are immigrants, are queer people, are trans folks, are, women, right? We make sure that we're talking the talk, but we're also walking the walk. Because I can't tell you how many organizations, talk about being for immigrants, by immigrants, but they don't hire undocumented people, right? They hire from outside instead of hiring from within, instead of hiring and paying artists as they should be paying them, right? So I think it's definitely important to learn how to invest in your community, because at the end of the day, it's going to be community who's going to have your back. Learn how to network. Ooh, Lord, this one has been definitely one for me where I'm just like, ooh, learning how to network, learning how to get out there. Especially now, I feel like especially now, right? It's not like I can go outside and like network with folks, but I really had to push myself to go out there to talk to people, right? Even if I felt embarrassed, even if I felt, like I really didn't want to go out, right? It was my job as a director. It was my job to build out those relationships, yeah? And to be able to, bring them back to my team so we can have greater opportunities. Again, engage with your audience. Make sure that you know your audience, right? Make sure that you are continuously, they're not just like, it's not transactional, right? Not just like, oh, here I'm paying an entrance and that's it. No, of course not. Like you have to be able to foster those relationships because, that's how you build movements, right? You build movements with family, and that's what we do with all of our guests at Cumbiaton. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And it's bringing us, it's bringing all of this to light in these Corona times, right? Even though we planned far ahead, we planned so far out until August, right, of dates. And this was back in January, hoping for the best, hoping to carry these out, right? But then we had to really reassess. Our team meets at least once a week to make sure that we have everything, as we have everything go as smooth as it can possibly go, even if it's online. And a lot of the times people don't know that. People think that the party or like the event just comes, together naturally and that it flows well and, it just happens magically, but it doesn't. It takes a lot of time, commitment, and dedicated labor from our teammates to make it work. So yeah, lastly, believe and trust in yourself 100%. As I mentioned, right? Like you have to, and I cannot stress this enough, believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, how do you expect others to believe in you, right? So I'll leave you with that. Always believe in yourself, commit to your mission and vision, and know that you can do it. Okay, so I'm gonna hand it off to Julio, who's gonna share a bit more about what he does with Cumbiaton, how he started with us, and how his work has also taken us to where we are today. So thank you for listening. My name is DJ Sizzle Fantastic. I'm gonna hand it off to Julio.
Thank you, Sizzle.
You're welcome.
That was beautiful. Oh my God, I almost cried. It just brought so many memories, right? Like that in the short time that we've been doing this, how folks have supported us. And so, again, my name is Julio Salgado. I do a lot of the graphics that you see for the flyers. And when Sizzle invited me to do this with her, I was like, what am I? I'm like, I'm not a DJ. I'm not a performer. And so, but Sizzle, I was like, well, you should talk about your story. Talk about how the work that you've done in the past within the migrant rights movement and the artwork that you've done. Have you what the things that I've learned and brought that into Cumbiaton. So I'm going to talk a little bit about myself and how I ended up in Cumbiaton. So let me share my page, my presentation, because I am a visual artist and I need slides. Can y'all see it?
Julio, just to interject, and I'm not going to do this all the time, but I want to say that you are a staple in the nightlife here in Los Angeles, and people know that. So don't sell yourself short. You know everything there is to know about the nightlife.
That's a nice way to say that I'm a parrandero. That's thank you. But yeah, well, I mean, I think it's important, right? Like, because I truly came into Cumbiaton as a fan, right? As a fan of the nightlife, and I'll get to that with my little story here. So every time I do presentations or like I talk about art and my role as a cultural worker, I can't not name my parents. The beauty about Cumbiaton, as Sizzle mentioned from the beginning, is that we're an intergenerational party, right? Like, Sizzle's mom, you see her in the lives, it's the same person that's like at the parties. And I think, for a lot of us who are lucky to, have our parents with us, our parents truly have let us, do the art thing, and as immigrants, we know that there's a lot of pressure to, you have to be a doctor or you have to like, engineering, but art is not very much pushed into a potential career because it's hard, right? But I for me, my parents have always been there for me. This photo was actually taken in 1995 when we moved from Ensenada, Mexico, and as part of the migrant rights movement, a lot of our narratives around our parents were, blaming them, right, for us being undocumented and ended up here. But our parents truly, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. And, I made this piece that's, that was based on my parents. That's called My Parents Are Courageous and Responsible. That's why I'm here. I also, another thing that I love to talk about too, and I won't get into it, but I can talk about Frida Kahlo all day, but a lot of the times, as Sizzle mentioned, whether it's art, whether it's a nightclub, we don't see ourselves reflected, right? Or like somebody else is in charge. I remember being in the 7th grade and not wanting to be in this country because I didn't speak the language, and seeing the artwork of this mujer, right? And to me, it did something. It was like, it gave me permission to follow that creativity and fall into that creativity. Right from the get-go, in the left-hand side, my parents were like, oh, do you want to do art? Well, go for it, if that's something that you're passionate about. And that's actually the first art show that I was part of at Hamilton Middle School. I grew up in Long Beach, and my parents were always, will show up, and we would take the bus, and again, right, that resiliency, I think we bring to Cumbiaton a lot in terms of like, oh, you can't, we'll take a bus, like for us, it's like there's no no's. We'll figure it out. On the other side, you'll see my tío Chicho. My tío Chicho, who unfortunately left us 2 years ago, was the first queer man that I met. And one of the things I love about my tío Chicho was the fact that he was very open about his queerness and bringing his family and his friends together. And it was always a party. It was always coming together. And, he made it okay for me to like, yeah, it was hard coming out and everything, but he was like, you know what, I'm gonna be myself. And one of the things that I love doing is partying, and I'm gonna do it as a family. And so as I grew up, and went to high school, I forgot why I had this light. So, but check out the haircut. Um, one of the things that, so I was in high school, I was really, again, pushed towards the arts, right? And this was around the time that I was like trying to figure out my sexuality and coming out. And in the next picture, you will see like I was very, very much about like, I need to meet other people who, think like myself or like are like myself, and basically other gay people. And around 2001, when I turned 18, I started hitting those clubs. I started hitting, the streets, me fui de vago. And to me, more than partying, more than having a good time, the clubs and the night bars historically in the gay community are there are places where we find refuge. They're the places where we organize. The whole pride thing got started at a gay bar, and so to me, going to gay bars, it's beautiful, it's amazing, not just to be with each other, but to connect, right? One of the as I was kind of navigating through the nightlife, one of the first clubs that is no longer here, Circus was one of the places. I know Circus. Who remembers Circus? Anybody out there? What I loved about Circus is, this happened a lot, right? Like all of these places where, our youth, when we, had our first dance with a boy as gay man, like the first time that, you made long lasting friendships, they're not there anymore. They weren't there anymore. And so one of the few options that we had was like, WeHo. The other club, the other line that you see is Tempo. Tempo was another, and it's still there. Tempo was a place where, they would play bandas and they would play rock en español and pop. And so, there were very few places where I could be my gay self and, listen to music that I grew up with, like banda and all that stuff that, in spaces like WeHo was not necessarily, I didn't see that, right? I would still go because, I'm gonna go anywhere that's a good party. But like for me, like keeping, and trying to find, those spaces for me were very important. As I was, partying and going through all this, moments and finding myself, I also found community and meeting other undocumented people, right? One of the things that, for many years, you were told that if you're undocumented, you shouldn't say anything, because if you say something, the potential of you getting deported, your parents getting deported, was big and great. And so for many years, we stood quiet, right? We were like not saying anything. But around 2010, when a lot of us were fighting for the DREAM Act would have given us a path to, citizenship, getting those papers if we went to college. A lot of youth, started coming out, and they're like, you know what? If you're gonna be talking about undocumented issues, you're gonna have to like look at us in the face. You can't talk about us in numbers. You have to look at us. And so I was looking at this from far away, and really taken aback by the bravery of this youth. And so I, as an artist, I wanted to document this. I wanted to make sure that people did not forget that, those words, undocumented and afraid, right? Like undocumented and afraid became a thing that it empowered us, right? It empowered us. And even though the DREAM Act didn't pass, all of a sudden the culture shifted. All of a sudden you had people that were changing the language around being, illegal and saying undocumented, and really, letting us lead, right? Letting the youth lead. Another thing about this whole movement was the fact that many of the folks that, you saw organizing the rallies, organizing the parties, a lot of us were queer, right? And so I wanted to, again, make sure that people did not forget that queer people are always at the forefront of cultural change. And so I don't know who came up with the term undocuqueer, but I remember seeing it in my timeline and I was like, yes, we need to make sure that people don't forget that undocumented and queer people have always been out there. Because the thing about, of being, in certain spaces is that you always have to like put different hats, right? Like, oh, I can be queer over here because that straight place, might not, get me, or, in the queer movement, you would only hear talking about gay marriage, but you wouldn't talk about the deportations and stuff. And so again, as a visual artist, I knew the importance of highlighting those folks and creating images that really paid homage to the work that they were doing. I ended up putting, I lived in the Bay Area for a couple of years, and like I got the opportunity to work with Galeria La Raza and do this billboard, and that was beautiful. Another thing that I am obsessed with, and again, right, like graphics, people are drawn to images. We have, we're in an Instagram, and so one of the things that I'm obsessed with, is watching TV. A lot of us immigrants grew up watching TV, and the thing about this space is, again, we didn't see ourselves reflected, right? And so I remember doing like a social commentary around the fact that a lot of the shows that we were watching, and this is why I appreciate LALIFF, for having us and, having an opportunity to tell our own stories through TV, because the little kids are watching. The little kids, that are watching these things are going to get inspired and then create their own stuff. And so I remember making this pieces and, kind of changing, like, what if people of color were on the leads on TV? And so I'm very proud of this because Solange shared one of my images. And the crazy person in me was like, oh my God, JC saw this image and then he made this video, right? Of course, it didn't happen, but I like to be a little bit delusional. And so now I really have opportunities to use those vehicles to continue to share my art. And now they're ending up on TV shows. This is a screenshot from a scene with Madame Secretary, the amazing Sara Ramirez, in their character. They have my art on TV. My art is on TV, y'all. And as I kept doing that type of artwork. Again, going to gay clubs, going to bars was always a place to go back, and kind of, doing that kind of work has, like, it takes a toll on you, and you want to sometimes chill out and go have a dance. In 2016, we all remember what happened with Pulse nightclub, right? There was a horrible thing that happened. And I remember getting a call from my mother, and my mom was like, Julio, please don't go to gay clubs anymore. Look at what's happening. And so I went from grieving to being super angry, because it had to take a horrible night like this to happen in order for our faces as people of color, as Black and brown people who, again, find the spaces, to be with each other, for our faces to be on TV, that, this tragic thing, had to happen. And again, I was like, that we need to like continue to celebrate ourselves. And I started making a lot of images where I would, whenever I would go to bars, whenever I go to clubs, I'm very lucky that people invite me to different parts of the country to talk about my art, which is, I'm like, okay, you want me to go talk about my art? I will. And every time I go to like different towns, different cities, there's always people who are like, I'm gonna take you to my spot. Let me take you to my spot. This is, this is where, like, the POCs, the queer folks, this is where we all hang out. And I take out my phone and literally, the way that, I make these images, all these images, I take a picture with my phone and then I will use those photos, and, I start making images like that. And again, right, to me, this was an important thing to do, to balance out, the grief, balance out the fact that, what happened at Pulse nightclub was a horrible, hate crime. But I wanted to make sure that people, didn't just think of us as, either victims or, just like you know, there's more to us than that, right? And so I wanted to honor, you know, folks that we're still here, you know, we're still alive, and that it shouldn't be that it's that until we're dead that people honor us. And so I'm like, we're gonna honor ourselves, right? Um, this is the first flyer that Cumbiaton had, and Sizzle, I love you. But I remember around, you know, when Cumbiaton, you know, first started, I was still living in the Bay Area, and I was, you know, about to move back to LA, and I remember I was like, who's this DJ Sizzle? Who's this person making this like bomb playlist? And what is this Cumbiaton thing? And I remember, you know, when I moved out here, I was like, how can I help? Look, I'm not a DJ, and I've been told many times that I'm not allowed to DJ. But I'm like, but I do this artwork thing. You know, I like to create. I like to, you know, I like to make drawings. And the first night actually that I was at Cumbiaton, the other flyer that Sizzle made, beautiful flyer. I came in, and one of the things that I love doing at Cumbiaton is I like to draw people on the spot, you know? And so that night that I was at Cumbiaton, I was just like drawing people, and you know, to me it's like art, it's like it's a gift, right? Like I like to give people something. And so like I was like, but can I help with the flyers and like kind of, you know, like give a little, give a little. I wanted to give something to that Cumbiaton was giving to the community, right? And so I started making the flyers. These were the first few flyers, and I look at them and I'm like, oh, okay, I could, you know, I definitely myself, I've grown as well, and I've experimented, you know, with different things, you know, in approaching the art and that I make for the flyers. But to me, it was like I wanted to, you know, I wanted them to make them bright and you know, use a lot of colors, and the whole team was like, Julio, do it. And what something again, what Sizzle has said is that, you know, you have to trust the people that you bring into teams, and the trust that the team has given me from designing the logo. Like I designed the Cumbiaton logo, to like whenever I have like ideas, I'm like, we should, you know, be drawing. And you know, let me on one occasion at the Civic Center place that it's here in LA, we had a Cumbiaton, and I was like drawing like a bunch of like, I was like, I want to draw all the people that are in the dance floor while they're dancing, and like I'm behind the booth, and it was beautiful. And so they let me be creative, and you know, they let me you know, go with this ideas. As I progress, you know, one of the things that I love doing with the photography that Paolo takes, we, you know, we collaborate, you know, with the flyers that we do. And you know, this is a flyer that we made for a Cumbiaton that was supposed to happen in San Francisco, which unfortunately happened right before, you know, we got told that, you know, we needed to stay at home. And so that was the last flyer that you know, I was like, man, you know, we were so excited. We were so excited to go up to San Francisco. And we couldn't do it. But as Cecil say, you know, like, you know, we like, as the rest of the world has been doing, right? You move into a digital space. And so we just started, you know, doing, you know, got online, and you know, all of us, like, I was like, it's not gonna be the same, you know. I was kind of like bummed out that I'm like, have a party on video, like what is that about? But people, you know, like, we crave that, like, you know, the what is happening in the world right now, it's you know, we need some distraction, right? And I think more than anything right now, people are really valuing, not that they weren't valuing the work, you know, that the nightclubs, you know, do, you know, and you know, it's just art overall. But you know, we're like, we get people like every time that we have, you know, series, and you know, people love to tune in to watch Sizzle and Funky, you know, do their thing, and Doña Socorro, Sizzle's mom, you know, dance, and we love that. And so one of the things that we started doing, you know, I'm also part of an organization called the Center for Cultural Power, and you know, we've done a lot of stuff, formerly known as Culture Strike. And one of the things that I love about, you know, the organization that I'm part of is that we love supporting artists. And again, you know, DJs, drag queens, you know, all the folks that work in nightlife have taken a big toll. And so we started doing this May Brunch series. And so for the month of May, we partnered up with the organization, and we're actually, you know, like paying the DJs, because again, right, like when you're right now in these times when that you know, artists are not getting jobs and gigs, it's important that whenever you connect with those artists that you pay them, right? And so you know, tomorrow we're actually having our Mother's Day Cumbiaton brunch, and you know, I made these flyers with with the DJs, and so we don't know what's going to happen, you know, in the next couple of months, but as creatives, we get creative, and you know, we hope that you know, as this ends, we get to go back out there, of course, you know, and you know, doing carefully and you know, following you know, some of these things that are happening, but Cumbiaton is going to stick around. You know, I trust in the family that we built together, and please join us every Sunday. Well, we basically do every Saturday. They do a Cumbiaton takeover at night, and you know, on Sundays for the month of May, we're doing this brunch. So get your mimosas and join us every Sunday for the month of May. So that's pretty much it. That's my role, what I do, and we wanna. So do you want to introduce this video? Can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Like Verizon? Yeah, so we wanted to close off the segment with this video that Julio is going to be streaming in a bit. But it's basically our last party that we had over at the historic Catch One, which was one of the first LGBTQ bars in West LA, right? And just to kind of highlight the camaraderie and the community that we've been able to build, not only within, you know, our you know, immediate communities, right? Because for us, it's definitely been one of these things where we're intentional about how we build out, right? We're intentional about collaborating with other artists here in LA, because we understand collaboration is important, right? So this was our last Posada Tropical, our last major party, which pulled in about 1,500 people. And it was 2 rooms, right? Because we had outgrown just the 1 room venue space, so we needed something with 2 rooms, and like literally people had to, like, remember Julio, people had to like squeeze by one another to get into the rooms, or like even just to be in one room, because that's where our movement and that's where our community has taken Cumbiaton, right? Because as Julio was mentioning too, the importance of representation, not only on TV, but inside of the nightclubs, right? Inside of the DJ booths, behind the cameras, behind the artwork, behind the mics, right? That is super, super important to be represented. And not only by people who look like you, and not only by people who aesthetically are there, right? But it has to be people who have the shared experiences as you, the same shared values as you, right? And I think that's why we have been so successful within the nightlife sphere, is because we, you know, we do it without a filter, right? We do it without any real gimmicks, right? We do it just presenting ourselves as Cumbiaton, as our most authentic selves, with our own lived experiences. So we're gonna close it out with, again, our last major party of 2019. The pre-corona days, but we hope to get back to these days, and we hope to catch you at a city, whether it's here in Los Angeles, in the Bay Area, in Seattle, New York, Chicago, right? That didn't happen, unfortunately, because of Corona, but you know, we're still looking to expand, and we're still looking to grow, and we're still looking to build with communities nationwide. So take it away, Julio.
Esto no sé, me tiene sabor a cumbia y reggaetón, así que bailate este cumbiaton, 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 bailate este cumbiaton. Somos discoteca, somos perdición, nosotros somos calle y somos reggaetón. Quiero que me levante la mano todo el combo. Este yo mi nomar, aquí la monto. Una mexicanita que es la más bonita, que sale para el disco con su baila cortita, se peina y se maquilla, se perfuma todo, se pone de espaldita, se menea, se toca y me encanta. Lo baila y lo baila y me encanta. Lo baila y lo baila y me encanta. Lo baila y lo baila y me encanta. Lo baila y lo baila.
Oh my goodness. I'm like, how sad. But happy at the same time, right? Because we do hope to get back to that. So we're going to open it up to questions. If anybody has any questions or anything that might have come up while Julio and I were talking, we have 10 more minutes left for any questions if y'all have any. But if not, then we can also just, sign off with just telling you thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember to please join LALIFF throughout the month of May as they continue hosting virtual events. Head on over to their website, latinofilm.org, or Instagram for more info. But we are gonna, we do have some questions here. Which was, and Julio, feel free to also give your feedback. Someone asked, what was your first party like? And I was like, wait.
You have to tell the story of the crate.
Oh, shut up. I hate you. I hate that you even brought that up right now. But yes, I'm going to share the story about the crate. The first party, I'm not going to lie, it was really nerve-wracking. And if I'm being honest, every party that we throw, at least for me, is super nerve-wracking. I'm like, even though I have this mind, right? Prepare, hope for the best, prepare for the worst, right? But I'm always like, oh my God, what if people don't show up? What if people don't come? What if, like the vendors don't sell? Because we do have vendors, right? And obviously, like, we like to provide this platform so that folks are also able to be entrepreneurs, right? And be successful in their businesses and sell their merchandise, right? So I am, the first to answer the question, I was really nervous. I was really scared, but I was so relieved when, like, little by little, right? And again, it wasn't a lot of people. It was like maybe 30 to 40 people tops that ended up walking through the doors. But I was so relieved, and I was so happy to see familiar faces. And I think that's still true to this day, 100%. Each and every time that I'm out there, I'm just so happy and overjoyed to see people coming through. And, you'll often find me on the dance floor, hugging, dancing, buying drinks for people. I don't know, because I really appreciate, folks' effort. I know it takes a lot to come out and get ready. I know it takes a lot to get the energy to come out and like dance. I know it takes a lot. So I am always so incredibly grateful to each and every person that comes through the door.
Yeah, I mean, of course, yeah. There's always the nerves, right, of every party. For me, one of the other, or I think it's the same question, like, what's a memorable moment for Cumbiaton is that one. Well, okay, there's two moments. We had a Day of the Dead Cumbiaton where Sizzle was like, you should. I've been saying, I'm like, I want to do drag one of these days. But then Sizzle was like, a ver si cierto, but do it. And I was like, I don't know. And it was the first and probably the last time, because my God, like, I already had a lot of respect for drag queens, but doing drag is not for the weak. And I had a lot of fun. I did my impression of Jen Rivera. I was Jenita Rivera. And it was so cool because it was, like, I'm obsessed with Jen Rivera. I'm from Long Beach. So, Long Beach represent, Playa Larga. But it was so much fun, but it was super hard. And I don't think I did that bad. It was cute. It was cute. But that was a fun night. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really, really cute. And, I will say this. I think, our team is really good about pushing each other. So, for example, if Julio's like, oh, I want to, I feel like I want to do drag, right? If one of our team members is really like throws an idea out there that they want to do, I feel like all of us within our team, we always push each other gently, right, to be able to do it. So, whether it's Julio doing drag, Normz doing more interviews, Paolo doing like different, works that he wants to do with the pictures, right? I think the real beautiful thing about our crew is that we're always super supportive in the ideas that each of us bring forward. So, even as Julio was mentioning, right, doing drag, I mean, yeah, why not? As he figured it out, it wasn't as easy as he thought it was going to be, but we were all here for it. So thank you, Julio, for sharing that.
I love that. Sizzle, question: who inspires you musically?
Who inspires me musically? That's that's a complicated question, but it's you know, for me, there's a lot of folks musically, like, you know, Beyonce, Rihanna, Megan Thee Stallion, right? Cardi B, in Cumbia, you know, we have like still Selena, right? Laura Leon, right? There's just so many artists, you know, even in reggaeton, Bad Bunny, right? J Balvin, Tego Calderon, right? It's all of these artists that I've been able to kind of just listen to and either watch their performances, right? Because I think there's something about how, you know, you also give yourself to the crowd that's really important, right? So, and that's something I think that I just want to throw out there as a performer and as a DJ, right? The reason why, you know, I think I've also been successful as a DJ is because I know how to read the crowd and I know how to work the crowd, right? That doesn't really happen with a lot of DJs, right? And maybe it's not their thing. Maybe crowd working or like hyping people up is not their thing, and that's fine. But I would definitely encourage those looking into becoming a DJ or a performer, learn how to work the crowd. And yes, it's nerve wracking. And yes, you know, you might be double thinking it, like, oh my goodness, what if I make a fool out of myself? But you know what? That's only in your head, you know, because 90% or maybe 99% of the time, people are just gonna go with it, right? Because they're there to watch a show. So I would definitely recommend that, and like, you know, continue to push yourself outside of your boundaries, but as long as you're not overdoing it, right? So yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Another question is, we have 5 more minutes, so we can answer a couple. Who inspires you in your art? That's a question for me. I mean, of course, I mentioned Frida Kahlo. You know, I think it's a cliche in the Latinx community to say that Frida Kahlo, you know, is one of her favorites. But she is. You know, she was one of the first people that I saw that was reflecting, you know, some parts of my culture, like so much so that I have her tattooed in my arms. That was my first tattoos. I have the two Fridas. But aside from her, there's like, you know, I think through Instagram, you know, finding new artists, finding new folks, you know, other undocumented visual artists, you know, that I've met from around the country, you know, have, you know, continue to inspire me. And this is when I know that, you know, two things, right? Like I'm getting older, I'm pushing 40. And you know, the reason why I started doing art was to try to make feel that they feel seen, right? And literally, like last week, I got an email from this kid who's like 20 years old, and he was like, I grew up with your art. And I was like, excuse me? Am I an elder?
You're an undocu elder.
I'm an undocu elder. But it was beautiful to hear that, you know, that a kid saw themselves, right? And so, you know, I continue to get inspired by, like, you know, the youth that is, like, you know, creating so much badass work. We probably should wrap up with this question, but Sizzle, where do you see Cumbiaton in 10 years?
Yeah, and I think that wraps up the last few questions, right? Where do you see this going in the future? How do you keep on evolving to continue to keep it fresh? And it's a conversation that we have with our team, right? But like, we do have retreats, believe it or not. We're more than just like pachangueros that, you know, just gather and get together during a party, right? Like, we have actual working retreats, we have meetings, we have, you know, plans, we have 3-year plans, we have 5-year plans, we have 10-year plans, right? But I think the overarching goal for us collectively is to continue to put on for our culture, right? To continue to invest in our community, to continue to respect and pay artists, not only like minimum wage, but a livable wage, right? So for us, we've been able to take little steps, and in reality, they're actually big steps, and I definitely don't want to minimize that. So excuse me for that, but it's big steps to make those realities come true, right? Like, we are an LLC, right? We do employ currently like 5 full-time and not full-time, but, you know, when we're working, and the part-time folks too, you know? So I think moving forward, we would love to see everybody, you know, come on full time, right? With like benefits and with a location. And, you know, again, we are a production, event production company, right? And we hope to continue to grow it into festivals, right? Not only here in LA, but nationwide, right? Take it where our folks are at, and where our people need to see the representation of themselves too. So 10 years, I think, you know, having our own space and building out festivals, music festivals, arts festivals, the sky's the limit.
Cumbiaton, the festival.
Yeah, I love it. And also getting those papers to go worldwide.
Papers, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, LALIFF, for having us.
Thank you so much, LALIFF. And again, just a quick reminder, join LALIFF throughout the month of May as they continue hosting free virtual events, different master classes, different performances. So make sure you check latinofilm.org or go to Instagram for more information. And thank you so much again, LALIFF, for having us. We'll see you next time.
Bye.